Hey everyone, and welcome back to Online Marketing Tips, Tricks, and Secrets from Gill Media, your one-stop shop for all things digital marketing. If you joined us for episode 10, we were all about video content, but this time we're going deeper. We're talking about building a brand identity that really sticks.
That's right, because creating amazing content is just the first step. To really make it online, you need a brand that people recognize, remember, and trust.
I used to think brand identity was just about having a cool logo. But why was I wrong? It's so much more than that.
It really is. Think of it like this. Your brand identity is the feeling customers get when they interact with your business. It's everything from your logo and color scheme to the tone of your website copy, and even how you interact with customers on social media.
Okay, so it's about creating a consistent experience no matter where someone encounters your brand.
Exactly. And that consistency is key because it builds trust. When people see that your brand is well-defined and always delivers on its promises, they're more likely to become loyal customers.
So let's say you're a small business owner just starting out. Why should they care about brand identity? Isn't that something for big companies with huge marketing budgets?
That's a common misconception. But actually, a strong brand identity is even more important for small businesses. Think about it. You're competing with tons of other businesses, many of which might have more resources than you. A strong brand helps you stand out from the crowd and attract the right customers.
So it's almost like a shortcut to building trust and credibility.
Exactly, and it makes all your marketing efforts more effective. Because when your brand is clear, your message is clear. And that makes it much easier to reach the right people with the right message at the right time.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've established that brand identity is important, but how do you actually build one? Where do you even begin?
Well, the first step is to define your brand's purpose. What problem do you solve? What makes you unique? What are your core values? Once you have a clear understanding of your purpose, everything else falls into place.
So it's about digging deep and figuring out the why behind your business. I like that. It's not just about selling a product or service. It's about making a difference.
Exactly. And once you know your purpose, you can start to develop your brand's visual identity. This includes things like your logo, color palette, typography, and overall aesthetic.
Okay, so this is where things get creative and fun, but it's also where a lot of people get stuck. How do you choose the right colors? What makes a logo effective? I'm guessing there's more to it than just picking something that looks pretty.
Absolutely. Your visual identity needs to be more than just aesthetically pleasing. It needs to communicate your brand's personality and values. For example, think about Apple. Their sleek design and minimalist color palette communicate sophistication and innovation.
That's so true. You instantly know it's an Apple product just by looking at it. And that recognition is incredibly valuable. Okay, so we've got purpose and visual identity. What's next?
The next step is to craft your brand's voice and messaging. How do you talk to your customers? What tone do you use? What kind of language resonates with your target audience?
This is where things get really interesting. Because your brand voice needs to be authentic. It can't sound forced or fake.
You're absolutely right. And it needs to be consistent across all your channels, from your website copy to your social media posts to your email newsletters.
Okay, so we've got purpose, visuals, and voice. But none of that matters if people can't find you online, right? That's where SEO comes in.
You got it. A strong brand identity needs to be visible online. SEO, or search engine optimization, is all about making sure your website shows up when people search for keywords related to your business.
But isn't SEO kind of technical and complicated?
It can be, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. The basic idea is to make sure your website is structured and optimized in a way that search engines understand.
So it's not just about stuffing your website with keywords. It's about creating content that's relevant, informative, and engaging for your target audience.
Exactly. And when you do SEO well, it can have a huge impact on your brand. Think about it. When someone searches for a product or service you offer and your website appears at the top of the results, it instantly boosts your credibility in their minds.
It's like a vote of confidence from Google itself. So SEO isn't just about driving traffic to your website. It's about building brand authority and trust.
That's exactly right. It's like that old saying, the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google search results. No one wants to be on that second page.
Okay, so SEO is crucial for getting people to your website. But what happens once they get there? What role does web design play in brand identity?
That's a great question. You see, your website is often the first impression a potential customer has of your brand. It's like your digital storefront. And just like you wouldn't want a physical store with a messy layout, broken displays, and flickering lights, you don't want a website that's confusing, slow, or visually unappealing.
So it's about more than just looking pretty. The design needs to be functional and user-friendly.
Precisely. Your website needs to be easy to navigate, mobile-friendly, and load quickly. It also needs to be consistent with your brand identity.
Okay, so let's say I have a brand that's all about sustainability and natural products. What would that look like translated into web design?
Well, you might use earthy tones and natural textures in your website's color palette and imagery. The layout could be clean and minimalist, reflecting a sense of simplicity and harmony with nature. And you might use fonts that are easy to read and have a slightly organic feel to them.
I see what you mean. It's about creating an experience that aligns with the brand's values. It's like telling a story through the design itself.
Exactly. And just like any good story, your website needs to have a clear beginning, middle, and end.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, the beginning is the homepage where you capture the visitor's attention and tell them what you're all about. The middle is the various pages on your website where you provide more detailed information about your products or services. And the end is the call to action, where you tell the visitor what you want them to do next.
So it's about guiding the visitor through a journey, and the goal is to make that journey as smooth and enjoyable as possible.
Exactly. Now, speaking of guiding the visitor, there's another important aspect of online branding we need to discuss: reputation management.
Oh yes, I've heard that term thrown around,
Yeah.
but I'm not entirely sure I understand it. What exactly does reputation management involve?
It's all about taking control of the narrative around your brand online. It's about monitoring what people are saying about you on social media review sites and forums, and responding to feedback, both positive and negative.
So it's kind of like damage control. You're making sure that any negative information about your brand is addressed and that positive content is highlighted.
That's part of it,
Yeah.
but it's also proactive. It's about actively building a positive reputation online. It's about engaging with your audience, sharing valuable content, and showcasing your expertise.
I see. So it's about shaping the perception of your brand online.
Exactly. And it's becoming increasingly important in today's digital world where anyone can post anything about your brand at any time.
Okay, so we've talked about purpose, visual identity, brand voice, SEO, web design, and reputation management. That's a lot to take in. Is there anything else businesses should keep in mind when it comes to building a strong brand identity online?
Well, there are 5 key steps that I think really encapsulate the process.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are they?
The first one is defining your brand purpose, which we've already discussed, but it's so important it's worth repeating. You need to be crystal clear about what you do, who you do it for, and why it matters.
Right, it's about finding your unique niche and standing out from the crowd.
Exactly. Step 2 is all about knowing your audience. Who are you trying to reach? What are their needs, wants, and aspirations? Where do they hang out online? Once you have a deep understanding of your target audience, you can tailor your brand messaging and marketing efforts to resonate with them.
So it's not just about broadcasting a message to the masses.
Yeah.
It's about having a conversation with specific individuals.
Exactly. Step 3 is about creating a visual identity that reflects your brand personality and values. We've already touched on this, but it's worth emphasizing that your visual identity should be consistent across all your online and offline platforms.
Okay, so everything from your website to your social media profiles to your business cards should have a cohesive look and feel.
Absolutely. Step 4 is all about building a strong online presence. This includes having a well-designed website, creating engaging content, and using social media effectively.
Okay, so this is where all the pieces of the puzzle start to come together. You're using all the tools at your disposal to create a seamless and engaging online experience for your audience.
You got it. And finally, step 5, which is arguably the most important, is to monitor and adapt.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
The digital landscape is constantly changing. What works today might not work tomorrow, so you need to be constantly monitoring your performance, tracking your metrics, getting feedback from your audience, and making adjustments to your strategy as needed.
So it's about being flexible and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Building a strong brand identity online is an ongoing process. It's not something you do once and then forget about it.
That makes sense. It's like tending a garden. You need to nurture it, prune it, and adapt to changing conditions to keep it thriving.
I love that analogy. That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about what brand identity is, why it's so important, and the key steps involved in building a strong brand online. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is that it's not just about creating a logo or writing a catchy tagline. It's about crafting a holistic experience that reflects the heart and soul of your business.
I completely agree. It's about creating something authentic, something that resonates with people on an emotional level, and that's what makes a brand truly memorable.
It's funny. I was recently shopping for a new pair of running shoes, and I was torn between two brands that were very similar in terms of features and price, but one brand had a story that really resonated with me. They talked about their commitment to sustainability, their support of local communities, and their passion for helping people achieve their fitness goals. And I ended up choosing that brand, even though it was slightly more expensive.
That's a perfect example of how a strong brand identity can influence purchasing decisions. People are more likely to buy from brands they connect with emotionally, brands that share their values.
Absolutely. So let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I get it. Brand identity is important, but I'm overwhelmed. Where do I even begin? What advice would you give them?
I'd say just start. Don't get bogged down in trying to create the perfect brand identity right out of the gate. It's a journey, not a destination. Start by defining your purpose, identifying your target audience, and creating a basic visual identity. Then start putting yourself out there, create some content, build a simple website, and start engaging with people online.
I love that it's about taking action and learning as you go.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things, see what works, and make adjustments along the way. The most important thing is to be authentic and to stay true to your core values.
Okay, so let's wrap things up with a little challenge for our listeners. Think of a brand you absolutely love. Could be a clothing company, a coffee shop, a tech giant, whatever. What is it about their brand identity that makes them so effective? What emotions do they evoke in you, and how can you apply those principles to your own business?
That's great exercise. And remember, building a strong brand identity is an investment in the long-term success of your business. It's about creating something that lasts, something that people will remember and connect with for years to come.
Absolutely. So stay curious, stay creative, and never stop refining your brand. And if you need help along the way, you know where to find us. Head over to the Gill Media website for tons of resources, blog posts, downloadable guides, and even personalized consulting services to help you create a brand identity that truly shines.
And hey, if you have a brand, you absolutely love a brand that just nails their identity, share it with us in the comments. We love getting inspired by what's out there.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps up another deep dive from online marketing tips, tricks, and secrets from Gill Media. We'll be back next week with a whole new topic, but in the meantime, get out there and start building that amazing brand.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those digital dreams alive.
See you soon.